Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Saturday, May 4th, 2019. May the 4th be with you. This is episode 1588. Enjoy. Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Helm. Take back your email, files, and photos and own your own data with Helm, a secure personal server that enables you to own your own online identity. Go to thehelm.com/techguy and save $50 off the Helm personal server. And by WordPress. Turn your dreams into reality and launch your website at wordpress.com. Get 15% off any new plan at wordpress.com/techguy. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yeah, time once again to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, bleep, bleep, all that, techno stuff with a chip in it. I try to do it in English, not blink, blink. 8888 Ask Leo. That is the phone number if you want to call in. I'd love to hear from you. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. If you're outside that area, why, you can still call. You just have to use Skype out or something like that to make the phone call. 8888 Ask Leo. Website. We do have one. A place for you to go after the show or during the show and say, what did he say? What did he say? And if you disagree, to leave a comment. And you know what's great about this website? We don't charge you anything. We don't ask for a sign-up. We don't do any of that stuff. It's all free and open and as free as the wind. TechGuyLabs.com. Do remember that so you don't have to remember anything else. TechGuyLabs.com. There's also a chat room you can join if you wish. That would be irc.twit.tv. You can go there on a web browser. Or if you're a fancy person, a fancy geek, you can use your IRC client as well. So we've been talking back and forth about Huawei, this Chinese company. Back and forth, Huawei. And, the U.S. government has since 2013, actually, really, 2009, the U.S. government's been accusing Huawei of being a puppet for the Chinese military, the Chinese government. It's unclear who really owns Huawei. Huawei says, the employees own it, but I don't know if that's true. And no one knows what's true, really. And so the U.S. government has said, well, they're just an arm of the Chinese government. And the reason that's important is because Huawei, besides making actually pretty darn nice laptops and phones, in fact, they're the #2 phone manufacturer in the world, Huawei also makes networking equipment, particularly 5G networking equipment. Maybe you've heard about all the buzz about 5G coming to the U.S. In 2013... former CIA and NSA chief Michael Hayden accused Huawei of engaging in espionage on behalf of the Chinese government. In 2018, 6 U.S. intelligence chiefs cautioned against buying Huawei or ZTE products. In fact, you may remember in 2018, Huawei was about to launch a really sweet phone in the U.S. They had a deal with Verizon to carry it. Under pressure from Congress, Verizon scuttled that deal, and Huawei no longer sells phones in the U.S. Now Bloomberg has a report, they published it this week, in which they claim there's a backdoor. A backdoor. Vodafone Italia, the Italian carrier, bought some Huawei gear, and their expert found a backdoor in it. Great piece. I have to credit James Sanders in Tech Republic, which is a highly respectable tech news, enterprise tech news site, in pointing out that this so-called backdoor in the Huawei gear is exactly the same backdoor as has been found in D-Link, Cisco, and Sony devices. He says, poor security practices do not equate to malicious intent. The battle rages on. No one has yet found any real evidence of spying stuff on Huawei. But it isn't unreasonable to assume that even if Huawei isn't owned or partially owned by the Chinese military, the Chinese government, that the Chinese government, the way it works, they could order Huawei to spy on whoever's using Huawei gear, perhaps even disrupt the network. So it's not, I don't think, unreasonable. I don't think to say, well, maybe we shouldn't buy Huawei stuff. The problem is there's no American company making stuff, equivalent stuff. And all around the world, while we're pressuring our allies and friends to whatever you do, don't buy Huawei gear, they're still doing it in many cases because there isn't a good alternative. The Huawei stuff, maybe this is suspicious, is less expensive than anybody else's. I don't know. I can't give you an advice. Although I think it makes sense to, just as I said with the Kaspersky antivirus, which is a Russian antivirus, which has also been a little bit, people are a little compromised by it. I've advised people in general, well, there's other antiviruses. There's other phones. There's other laptops. Although that Huawei Mate laptop is so nice. But there's other companies. On the other hand, I use devices from China by a company called Lenovo. I'm really fond of those laptops. I don't know. This is the problem. This is the world we live in. Even if you wanted to buy U.S.-only gear, like maybe an Apple iPhone assembled in China. Actually, the Samsung phones are assembled in South Korea. But that doesn't mean they're not compromised. Not by the South Koreans, but who knows, I mean, we live in a crazy, mixed-up world. Video Game Hall of Fame inducts Super Mario Kart, Mortal Kombat, Colossal Cave Adventure. That was my first game. Man, that goes way back. And Microsoft Windows Solitaire into the Hall of Fame. I know people who actively uninstall Solitaire, mostly writers who say, if I have Solitaire on my Windows machine, I'm going to play it, and I'll never get this book done, so I'm deleting it. Maybe for that reason alone, it belongs in the Video Game Hall of Fame. Let's see, what else? Facebook had its big developers conference, F8, this week. Didn't really announce anything. They doubled down on what Mark Zuckerberg had blogged earlier, that we want to make Facebook a privacy-first company. But they said it again. We're going to, in fact, he was standing under a thing that said, like, privacy. And yet, they announced nothing. No new privacy initiatives, nothing. They just said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Well, when they do it, I'll take a look at Facebook. But until then, I don't trust them. They did announce updated virtual reality gear, the Oculus, the Rift S. Can we say that VR is dead? I mean, can we say that? Is it premature for me to call it? Do you run home after work, after a busy day of work, strap on the visor? And by the way, one of the most popular VR games, work. Strap on the visor, go to work. No, I don't. I think we can safely say. And when Mark Zuckerberg says the future is private, we can say, yeah, sure, Mark. You let me know when you get there. Let me know. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Kim Schaffer is here, our phone angel, ready to answer your calls. We'll do that next. It's a miracle. It's Kim Schaffer answering your phones. Kim, you don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kim.
Michael got the memo.
Michael got the memo. Michael Cozio, our old, longtime musical conductor, is back because Big Pee Wee taking the weekend off. Yeah. Doing something fun, I hope.
I hope so.
Hope it's not like getting dental surgery or something horrible. No, he's out in the sun enjoying. But you're here.
I am.
Actually, I'm going to be gone
2 weeks from
in 2 weeks because my daughter's graduating from college. So proud of her, and I want to go to commencement ceremony. So we're going to record after the show today. So
I told you that day I was going hot air ballooning because I had the day off.
Isn't that great?
So I'm going to...
Where are you going to hot air balloon?
In Napa.
You know, there's lots of hot air on this show. You could probably...
Just do it in the studio.
All you need is a balloon. You'd be set. Oh, that's fun. Napa's fun. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gorgeous. So I'm
what
looking
a
forward to
great
that.
idea.
So thank you for the day off. The timing was impeccable.
Couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
So, my dear, do you have anybody for me to talk to, or should we just use up the next 3 hours?
We should just chat about, what'd you do yesterday? Mike in L.A. is hearing that 5G is supposedly bad for your internal organs. He thinks it's phooey, as he says, but wants to know your opinion on that.
I think we're going to be talking a lot about that in the near future. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Kim. Hello, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Kim. Hi, Kim. Hi, Leo. How are you?
I am not nearly as cute as Kim, I'm sorry to say. Oh, well.
Well, she pretty much nailed it. Actually, I wanted to tell you this is the third time I've called you over the many years I've been listening, and I just wanted to say thank you. You've always been great.
Oh, thank you for calling. I really appreciate it.
Well, as she said, I was talking to my nephew this morning at breakfast, and he's a great guy, but he's one of these conspiracy guys. And, everything's like a conspiracy, the government and all, what have you, and everything. Yeah. And so we were talking about 5G. And he said, "Oh no! Did you hear all about that?" And I said, "No. Well, what's it about?"
Oh, who's he been listening to? Okay.
And so he goes, "Yeah, it penetrates your skin and does damage to your internal organs."
Oh, isn't that not? Isn't it? Microwave does. I mean, I wouldn't get inside a microwave oven. And in fact, the way microwave ovens were discovered is it was used in radar. And somebody cooked a can of beans in front of a radar. And in fact, that's why the early microwaves were called radar ranges. Oh. But that's a lot of energy. And you have to be pretty close because there's a rule that's really important about energy and energy dissipation. It weakens by the inverse of the square of the distance. So that's a big mathematical thing. But the bottom line on that is the energy coming off the antenna dissipates extremely rapidly by the inverse of the square. So it pretty much is gone by a few feet away. And that's why you can stand in front of your microwave with some minor shielding because it's not that dangerous. The waves that are used by 5G are even less risky. Ask your friend if he ever goes through those X-ray machines at the airport. I'm not talking about the metal detectors, but those ones that go around you. Those also use millimeter wave. And I remember when that technology first emerged, there were people saying, "Oh, people are afraid of stuff." And the real thing to remember is it's hard to prove the negative. Mm-hmm. In other words, if something's damaging, it's easier to prove it's damaging than it's not damaging. It's like, how do you, cell phones? Well, no one's proved they're damaging, but on the other hand, no one's proved they're not damaging. Because how do you prove that? Well, we kind of have. I mean, we've had cell phones for several decades. There's no increased instance of brain cancer or other kinds of cancer. In fact, there's evidence is reduced, but that's probably due to other things. So there's a guy who comes in here, visits us, local guy, who's trying to get Wi-Fi removed from the public schools because he says, our children, think of the children, the Wi-Fi is killing them. And it's very hard to prove it's not. And he could cite a lot of kind of sketchy studies, as I'm sure, your friend can. Who was you said your son?
My nephew.
Your nephew. I'm sure your nephew has, there's always, you can find stuff to say anything.
Sure.
But just so you know, 5G is millimeter wave technology, which is at a very, very high frequency, relatively low energy, and even if you stand next to the antenna, it won't cook a can of beans, and it certainly won't penetrate your skin. So
so that was his big argument.
Yeah. In fact, one of the problems with 5G, one of the reasons it's not going to come as fast as they say, is it doesn't travel very far. And so when we put in 5G, when companies are putting in 5G, they can't just use the existing cell towers. They have to double the number or triple the number. They have to have a lot more cell towers to support 5G. That's one of the reasons I'm not too worried about 5G. One estimate I said that by 2025, 6 years from now, a full 30% of the nation will get 5G. What? In 6 years, 1/3? What?
Right.
So it's not going to, it's not, don't worry. I'd love to see 5G. I'm not worried about it. I keep my cell phone in my pocket next to my heart where it belongs.
I think you were talking about 5G just a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that's what made me think about giving you a call.
The promise of 5G, and by the way, don't fall for, and the cell phone companies do this every time, AT&T is labeling on your phone now that it's 5GE, which means, the E means not 5G. It means it's 4G, but we're going to call it 5GE. It's not really 5G. You're not going to see 5G except in very limited areas. And you have to buy a special phone. They are starting to sell those phones, but it's going to be a while.
Right.
When we get it, it will be faster. But speed isn't the primary benefit of 5G. It's something called low latency that everybody's excited about. That is, latency is a killer when you're using Skype or you're playing a video game. It's the delay between when you send a signal and when you get it back. You've seen that on satellite phones on the TV news where they say, Bob is in Budapest. Bob, what do you think?
Right.
Well, John, that's latency. And it's not good. It's not good for phone calls, not good for video games, not good for a lot of things. One of the things people want to do with 5G is wire autonomous vehicles so that they can communicate with each other. Latency would be really bad. If you all come to a stop sign at the same time, it would be a bad thing. So that's why people are excited about 5G. It means it's not so much that it's faster, but that we can do more with the 5G network. But don't get tell your nephew. Well, the problem is you can't convince these people because they say, "Well, I saw," because you can't prove the negative. So all we can do, and I think it's prudent, is continue to watch studies on cell phone radiation, Wi-Fi radiation. For a long time, I was really worried about very low-frequency radiation from power plants, power lines. There seemed to be maybe some evidence that living near a power line wasn't a good thing. Well, that's not panned out. There are environmental hazards all around us, but I don't think 5G is one of them. So
cool.
I don't know if telling your nephew will do any good at all, Mike. But
yeah, well, maybe I'll have him just. I think I can pick up the show on podcast too, right? If I want to replay it for him.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's great. TechGuyLabs.com or twit.tv/TTG.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. But even if you play the tape of me saying it, it's not going to convince him. It's not going to convince him at all. Jeff, I see you nodding. Are you an engineer?
Yes, software engineer.
Software engineer. Well, I know the nerds when I see them. Look at this. Do you know what this is? Some of you do. It's pretty cool. I mean, I love the industrial design on this thing. That is my home server. Well, it's not. This one isn't. It's in the other room. But it is awesome. It's called the Helm. Helm believes you have the right to live on your own terms privately, even when you're online. That's why they created this, the Helm Personal Server. It allows you to easily own and manage your own online identity, starting with your email. That's how it started. But now you could do calendars, contacts, even files and photos. So instead of using a third party, putting your data out there on the cloud where anybody can look at it, Google or Apple or Dropbox, you have it all at home. I love this. I set this up. I got a special email address for it, although you can easily port your existing email address over to it. Set it up. The Helm does some really clever things. Now, first of all, it's got 128 gig SSD in here, but it also has 2 Type-C connectors. So they plan eventually to add extension drives, an Ethernet connector, but also supports Wi-Fi. You can now manage unlimited email domains. Actually, unlimited domains, period. Plus unlimited email accounts. You got aliases. You can set up multiple users from a single device. It uses proximity-based authentication. And that's really cool. In order to set up an account, you have to get your phone within a few feet of the Helm server. Then it uses Bluetooth LE to enable the phone. Setup is fast, less than 5 minutes. It's accessible anywhere in the world. And you get something really important. I was just reading a study that said that of the 20 Democratic candidates for president this year, only one has authenticated email. The rest of them aren't doing this. They should get one of these. It includes DMARC, SPF, DKIM email authentication. It's built in. Future expansion up to 5 terabytes. There's full disk key encryption. And I love it. It includes this really nice-looking USB key. You plug this in, you put your restoration keys on that, and then you put it somewhere else so you're safe. It's automatically copying all my email. Secure boot, TLS encryption. The certificates for your domain come from Let's Encrypt, so they're free and automatically updated. I mentioned the two-factor proximity-based authentication. Helm's added a new service now, the Helm Files. It's Nextcloud, which is a great choice. With Helm Files, you get file sync, file sharing, and photo backup. Helm customers can easily upload, view, and share their files and photos, but it's never stored in the cloud. It's stored on your Helm personal server. Finally, a powerful private alternative to Google Drive and Dropbox. Look, privacy is a right, not a setting. Protect what matters with Helm. For a limited time, $50 off the Helm personal server. Go to thehelm, TheHelm.com/techguy. Strong demand. I think they're sold out. Check. At least they're accepting deposits. Get on the list. You'll be the first to get yours when they're back in stock. Thehelm.com/techguy. And look how nice that looks. Love that. That is Scott Wilkinson. Speaking of amazing, incredible, the one and only home theater geek is here. Scott joins us every week to talk about home theater. He also is a regular at Tech Hive, where lately he's been doing some cool reviews of kind of little things, which is nice because a lot of times they don't get the coverage.
Yeah, people spend most of their time on TVs and projectors and receivers and big surround speaker systems. It's all great, but you know, I'm at a point in my life where it's nice to get a review unit in that's in a little box.
You can put in your pocket.
You can almost put in your pocket, yeah.
So Scott, no spoilers.
No spoilers.
And I'm not going to mention Avengers Endgame because I haven't seen it, so I'm not even going to talk about it.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to even talk about it. But do you watch Game of Thrones?
No, but it's what I wanted to talk about today.
Okay, good. I'm glad because no spoilers.
No spoilers.
But
I can't give you a spoiler because I don't watch it.
Episode 3 was on Sunday.
Yep.
And it was the big, I don't think it's any surprise. It was the Battle of Winterfell. It was a big battle, right? It was an hour and a half of fighting. Yeah. But for some reason, the director decided to shoot it in the dark.
More specifically, he decided to shoot it in what's called available light.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's not the only time that's happened.
Available light's fine, except that the bad guys, I won't even say the Night King and his army of dead people, but, you know, that guy...
Those guys.
And the good guys, for some reason, the good guys joined the fight in the middle of the night. They began the battle in the middle of the night. So available light is nothing.
It's the torches and the campfires and whatever you have there.
Now,
moonlight, I suppose.
I watched it, I'm sorry to say, on HBO Go, which is their streaming thing. And the macro blocking was awful.
Yes. And did you watch it when it was first released?
We did watch the HBO Direct stream, I think, but we watched it on a projector. Well, so then it wasn't very good. What I wanted to do and what I need to do and what I can't do until it comes out on Blu-ray is watch it on my OLED TV in a less compressed, and it's never uncompressed, but a much less compressed format. Because I bet you there is some detail in those blacks.
Yeah,
it's not just a... I bet you... Because, you know, some of the images, and what people have done on Reddit is they've pulled frames from it and brightened them up.
Yes.
And they're gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, this is really beautiful cinematography. Too bad we couldn't see it.
Yeah, well, there are several problems going on there. One is you were watching it on HBO Go, a stream, right? And
as many people do. I'm not alone.
Oh, no, no. And that's the problem.
Even if you watch it on the cable during the airing, cable companies compress heavily and at varying degrees. So
Yeah, but less so than streaming.
Less so, but I'm telling you, I know they compress it a lot too because they want to get more channels on their limited
That's true.
capacity.
Yep, you're exactly right on that.
And some cable companies are worse than others. Look, this was perhaps one of the greatest episodes of all time on television. But I think the people who made it, the producer, the director, the DP, didn't really consider where it's going to be seen.
Exactly. One of the other problems that we haven't mentioned yet is if you watch it, that particular scene, that particular episode or some movie like that, in a room with any ambient light, it's going to affect how you see the dark detail.
Right. But even
So
if, even when I watched it again in my den with no light and on my OLED HDR screen,
right,
the macro blocking, which is the artifacts from the compression,
Yes.
was terrible because there's a lot of black stretches and it was just blocky.
Yeah.
And so not only were the blacks squashed, as you people, you TV types say, but
crushed, actually.
Crushed. They were crushed, which means there was very little detail in the dark parts. When you did see detail, it wasn't something real. It was artifacts from the compression.
It was artifacts, these big blocks of solid black, essentially.
So I'm gonna buy the darn thing, but it's not yet available on iTunes. Only seasons 1 through 7. The minute it's available, which I guess will be in a few weeks after they show all of them, I'll buy it and watch it again. I bet it will look good. I bet if you could see it on Blu-ray UHD,
it would probably look amazing.
It probably is there, and I'm sure that in the studio when they were editing it, they were looking like, "Oh man, this is going to be good."
But think about this: where were they looking at it? They were looking at it in a mastering suite.
Yeah.
Which has completely controlled light, ambient light. They probably were in a very dark room. They were on a fully calibrated TV or display. And this is what another point I want to make is you want to make sure that at least your basic picture controls are set correctly. And in particular, the brightness and contrast controls.
The music industry learned this long ago. They, before they shipped a record, they would listen on the cheapest little speakers in the studio. They called them Oratones, and they sounded bad. And make sure that at least it sounded musical.
And they knew, because they knew, the producers of that music knew that most people were going to be listening to that music on crappy speakers. Yeah.
Hey, is Game of Thrones, it's 1080p or is it 4K? Is it HDR or not? Do you know?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I get the feeling it's not, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's HBO. They're probably
good
at the forefront. I would be surprised if it wasn't. I would be very surprised if they didn't shoot it in HDR and maybe even shoot it in 4K. Now, it's not distributed in 4K. It will be on UHD Blu-ray probably, I suppose. But for streaming, I mean, I suppose they could stream it in 4K. That's really the best way to get 4K into your home other than on a disc. Is by streaming.
I'd love it if they released, and I would buy it. I already bought all the episodes for hundreds of dollars on iTunes anyway, but I would buy the UHD if they
and
put
on
it
iTunes,
out.
iTunes is now selling a bunch of 4K.
Well,
HDR
I think
stuff.
iTunes will be pretty good, and that I'll get right away. So I think it'll be better.
So
some people are saying adjust your TVs, but honestly, because of the compression.
Well, yeah, that's the big bugaboo right there. I mean, certainly you do want to adjust your TV, no question, but they shot it in low light. They compressed the heck out of it when they set it. You were probably watching it with 10 zillion other people at roughly the same time.
Yeah, that was another problem. So it's even more
That's another
compressed.
problem. Their servers are probably overtaxed.
It was, in fact, the most watched episode ever on HBO.
Yeah.
Which doesn't say much, but it's still. Some people are saying, I've seen articles saying they should have learned from Netflix. Stranger Things, which was shot in 4K HDR, Netflix did a much better job, and I never noticed macro blocking or problems.
Well, that's interesting, but of course they didn't have the huge audience that Game of Thrones.
Well, and there was a lot of darkness in Stranger Things.
Well, that's true too.
And it actually, I used it to show off my HDR TV because it looked so good.
Interesting.
I wouldn't show off my HDR TV with the long night episode of Game of Thrones, because basically it'd be, okay, it's night, it's long, but
it's night, it's long,
what's
it's
going
winter.
on? Yeah.
No, I don't. I have to look up whether Game of Thrones is actually shot in HDR or not. If it is, then It's got to be, and I'm surprised that it.
Okay, so I'm looking on hd-report.com. The first season of Game of Thrones was released last summer to 4K Ultra HD, and so if they shot the first season that way, they must have shot the whole thing. So you will, good news, eventually be able to get a UHD Blu-ray.
And finally see all that detail.
Yeah, by then no one will care. Scott Wilkinson, Home Theater Geek, TechHive.com. It does really bring up the problem in general with streaming. Although, as I said, Netflix did a very good job with some of its stuff. So
Stranger Things, yeah.
Beatmaster is saying the Amazon Prime stream was the best. That's an interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Too violent?
It's just too violent for me. Oh. No. I love good TV.
It's too good for you.
It's too violent.
Plus, if you don't start in the beginning and watch it
I'd
with
have
a
to go back
notebook in front of you, you're not gonna. It's not gonna make.
My sister is a huge fan. Yeah. Huge.
Yeah.
She just loves it, and I just go. I don't need that imagery burned onto my retina. I'm sorry.
Oh, Scott.
I don't watch Tarantino films either for the same reason.
Scott.
That's why. We were talking about this in the chat room.
Yeah.
Said, well, what about Tarantino films? No, I don't watch them. I don't
understand because you don't want to get it in your brain. But you go see Avengers movies.
Yeah, but there's no blood and guts. There's no, it's not the same. It's not
violent as heck.
It is violent as heck.
But you don't see entrails.
You don't see entrails.
Yeah.
That's what I can't stand.
Yeah. No, I understand. And once you get that in your brain, it's hard to get.
It's hard to get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
really
I completely understand. And you know what?
Fact,
I'm gonna make you feel better. It's not really so good that you're missing anything. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't burn your brain with that. There's certain things I would say, well, you really got to watch.
Yeah.
We're rewatching Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah. I never got into that. Was it good?
Yeah. When you watch it again, you realize, boy, this really was an exceptional show. The acting, the scripting, the plotting, the writing, just really, really, really good.
Unless there's a bunch of blood in that one, which I don't think there is.
Yeah, well.
A little bit, maybe.
There are violent episodes in it. And
sure.
Yeah, you might not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it would. That's one where I would say, well, put up with the violence because, and the same thing. I'd say the same thing with Tarantino. Otherwise. Yeah, which is put up with the violence and just close your eyes or something because the content, the writing is so superb.
Yeah, we were talking in the chat room. Tarantino was tapped to do the next Star Trek film. And I thought, a Tarantino Star Trek film? What?
Yeah, baby.
Wow, that.
Yeah.
I was nervous. I mean, I love Star Trek. I'm a true Trekker or Trekkie. I don't really care about that.
I'm sure Disney is going to say, not Quentin, we love your writing, we love your style, but can you keep the gore down?
The most recent news reports indicate that it might be shelved anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're done.
Yeah. So it's hard to say.
No more.
I would probably go to see it, even though it's Tarantino.
His writing is so beautiful.
So good. Did you see Hateful Eight? I did.
Yeah, and there's another. It's all about the violence.
Yeah,
but he writes this great dialogue. It's just so good.
Yeah.
That I don't know what to say. I mean, I think Pulp Fiction was actually genuinely disturbing. I think there was stuff in there that I can never unsee that I wish I'd never seen. It was really disturbing. So, yeah, the writing's not that good. It's not like Aaron Sorkin good.
I do love Aaron Sorkin's writing. Yeah.
All right. Can you hang on for the top of the hour?
Yeah, sure. Happy to.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
It would be fun to see a Tarantino Star Trek or Star Wars. That would be fun. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Murray in New Jersey. Hey, Murray.
Hey, Leo. It's good to talk to you again.
Thanks
How are you?
for calling. It's great to talk to you.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on something that my homeowner's insurance is now offering, which is insurance for cyber protection.
Oh, really? How interesting. What do they cover?
Well, it's interesting. They the two main things is they cover protection of lost assets with a maximum of $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
And and they do extortion protection for
ransomware. Now, the only thing that comes
big things.
Those are important. The only thing that comes to mind is a number of companies that got bit by ransomware over the last few years, big companies with hundreds of millions of dollars losses, found out that their insurance companies declined to cover it. Can you believe it? We're going to decline.
Yep.
Because they said it was an act of war. And so I would read the policy carefully and look for an act of war clause, because that could get them off the hook. If they say, well, our experts say that ransomware was created by a nation state as part of a cyber warfare campaign, so we're not going to pay you, then you're going to be in trouble. Now, by the way, these companies have taken those insurance companies to court, so we'll see if the courts agree that that is an out, because that's a pretty broad definition of act of war. Yep. I mean, usually when Lloyd's of London insures your battleship, it's insured against everything except maybe the bad guys hitting it with a torpedo. I don't know. Is this that same kind of act of war? I don't know. So they hope it is.
The protection, I guess, what interested me more was the loss of financial assets, because you always think about what happens if your bank account is drained. Yeah, so this is new. I haven't heard of insurance companies doing this, and obviously the problem with this is you got to really read the fine print, what they cover and what outs they have on this. I mean, how much is it? It's probably fairly cheap, because this doesn't actually happen that often. So the maximum coverage, it is the $250,000 max. That's like $550 a year.
Oh, that's steep. What?
Yeah.
No. That's way too much money. I think they're just capitalizing on all the press that this kind of stuff's been getting. If you do one of the identity theft protection services like LifeLock, they will also insure you for $1 million as part of the program. So, against identity theft anyway. They were obviously not against ransomware. But that's a lot cheaper way to get 4 times the coverage on if you're worried about identity theft. If you're looking at, and honestly, these days, that's probably the main reason to get these protections is the insurance more than anything else. It's kind of what you're buying, because companies like LifeLock do their best, but there's not a whole lot they can really do. All they can do is warn you and say, well, it's happening.
Right.
It's hard to prevent.
Do you think that coverage covers loss of assets too?
Oh, yeah. That's $1 million. Well, read it again, but my understanding is, and they used to be a sponsor. I don't know if they still are, but I think they are actually. So I should disclaim that. I don't do the ads. They read it, but my understanding is it's coverage against losses due to identity theft. And so that seems to me like a fairly good deal. It's not hugely expensive, certainly less than $500 a year. As for losses against ransomware, I think you'd be better. That's so expensive. You'd be better off putting that money towards good backups. And then you'd have another benefit, which is you'd have a good backup. So the idea of ransomware is you get an email, you think it's real, you open the attachment, boom, it infects your computer, encrypts all your private data, all your personal data, and some of them actually will go out over your network and look for other computers, get on them, and encrypt their data. Then they put up a notice on the screen saying, you are never going to see your data again unless you pay us, and it varies, usually a Bitcoin or two, which could be thousands of dollars. By the way, there's no guarantee that even if you paid the money, you'd get the data back. You should pretty much assume if you get ransomware, your data is lost, but that's the data on your hard drive. If you have appropriate backups, not local backups or not attached. If they're if you have a hard drive attached that's got data on it that you've been backing up to, that'll get encrypted too. So it has to be stuff that the ransomware can't see. Stuff in the cloud or a hard drive you backed up to and then detached. Easy to do, not expensive. But then what you do is you wipe the computers, you know, all of them, make sure that there's no traces left of the malware and reinstall your data, and you don't have to give them a Bitcoin. That's, to me, a better long-term solution because it covers a lot of other scenarios that the insurance doesn't. That seems a lot to charge. What's the company? What's the insurance company?
It's Chubb Insurance. And
yeah, well, Chubb is very, you know, that's a good company. That's kind of the best insurance you can get in terms of the amounts of coverage they're willing to write, the stuff they're willing to underwrite.
And thankfully, I've never needed to use them, but they have a good reputation.
Yeah, no, they have a great reputation.
What you're saying before, I don't know that they would pull the whole active war thing on you.
I don't think so. I think Chubb really has a very good reputation. They're also known to be very expensive. So $500 for Chubb, maybe that's not so bad. That's an interesting choice. I would really want to read the fine print on this before I would give them that much money.
Yeah, and I'm not really too worried about extortion because I've followed all your advice and I've got all the backups in the cloud and
you're safe there.
Extra backups.
It's the identity theft. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's something you can do everything to prevent, but it's not necessarily something you can always say, oh, I'm never going to have that happen. It's always a risk.
Right.
Unfortunately. Mostly because of these credit reporting agencies like Equifax and TransUnion and Experian that have all your data and are glad to ship it off to the highest bidder at any time.
Right.
One way people do it, you could protect yourself, on a computer, but those credit card offers you get in the mail, if somebody can get to your mailbox before you do and pick it up, there you go. They can get a credit card in your name. So it's a lot harder to prevent that. I don't know. Look, I would, if you really care about this, look at what Chubb's underwriting says and look at something like LifeLock and see what they say and compare them.
I will definitely look at LifeLock because if I can save some money and get more coverage, I could put that money to a new OLED TV or something. Yeah,
that's a surprisingly high amount of money. That means either they really think it's going to happen. I'm looking at their page because Scooter X in our chat room gave me a link. Cyber risk management. The threat of cyber attacks is large and growing, costing companies and individuals trillions of dollars a year. Chubb has industry-leading experience and expertise to help you reduce cyber risks you and your business face. So this is nice because they're offering some support to prevent it. That's one advantage, and Chubb's known for this. It's one advantage of having an insurer who will be proactive. They don't want to pay out. So they'll do things to help you protect yourself to avoid having to pay out.
Yeah, I just mentioned two things, but they definitely, and I'm not trying to, I'm not an advocate. I'm not trying to do their advertising for them, but they offered other things with that also.
I'm looking. They have what they call a cyber incident response coach and a Chubb cyber alert app. This sounds a lot like the kinds of things LifeLock and their brethren offer as well. It sounds very similar. So the idea is protect you. And it looks like they're also aiming at businesses as much as individuals. It's almost certain high-value individuals. Hey, let me know.
That's something.
Let me know.
Something a couple of years ago that I don't remember exactly what you said, but it gave me a lot of comfort about something having to do with the fact that the chance of someone picking you out in the middle of the street to attack is pretty rare.
I'm going to take a break. When we come back, maybe we'll talk a little bit about this. I know exactly what I said, and I shall repeat it because I do want people to feel better. Here we go. It's time for the Scott Wilkinson. You muted yourself? I don't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. There you are. Have fun, Scott.
Thanks, I will.
Okay, I'm going to get a cup of coffee.
Go get some
coffee break time for Leo.
Take a break, yeah. So, we've been having a great conversation in the chat room about violence and movies and cartoons. I was telling somebody that I don't really it's not a problem for me in an animated cartoon. I called it a real cartoon because he was saying, well, what about Tom and Jerry? They're pretty violent. Well, yeah, but it's an animated cartoon. The problem I have is that the depiction of violence and of blood and guts and entrails and all that stuff we were talking about has gotten so realistic that even though I know it's fake, that it's pretend, that it's special effects and props and what have you, doesn't matter. The image still sticks in my head and it looks very, very real. So I don't subject myself to that. I really don't. I've never seen the Alien movies. I don't watch war movies. I've never seen Thin Red Line or Band of Brothers or any of that stuff because, you know, I don't want to put myself in that environment. And that's just me. You know, hey, if you enjoy Tarantino movies and those war movies and the Alien movies and all that, if you like that, more power to you. Go enjoy. Have a great time. I support you completely. But don't ask me to do it. I am not going to do it. I'm not going to go to those kind of movies. I just don't want that imagery in my brain. Hack and slash, Lawn Dog says. Yeah, sort of. Dr. Mom Grandma, who should know, says, not really. The real stuff is ickier. Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, Dr. Mom Grandma is a surgeon. She's trained as a surgeon. And so she's been in the surgery, in the operating room, operating on people and seen real blood and guts. I would faint dead away. I would faint dead away. Now, my wife, she is actually an anatomist. She's taught anatomy classes in the cadaver lab. So there's no blood. There's a lot of guts. She specializes in the throat. She's a speech pathologist, and she specializes in the larynx and the breathing system, pulmonary system, I guess. Not the lungs so much, but everything from the trachea up to the mouth. And so she has no problem with that. Okay, great, wonderful. She has told stories, though, of students who have fainted or almost fainted in the cadaver lab. So, you know, I'm not the only one. Yes, debug precisely. To each his own. To each their own. If you enjoy that stuff, boy, I go get as much of it as you can. It's great. And be sure to tune your TV correctly so the color of blood is right. This reminds me. Well, I'm a fan, being old enough, of Perry Mason. Remember Perry Mason? There was one episode in season 9 that was shot in color because they were thinking about shooting season 10 in color, but season 9 turned out to be the last season. They ended it. But they shot one episode in color. And there is a point where one of the characters gets shot or something and he's bleeding. And the blood is purple. It's so fake. It's actually hilarious. So sure, if Quentin Tarantino wanted to make a movie where everything was so fake that you couldn't help but say, oh man, that's so fake, maybe I'd watch it. Maybe. Dr. Mom Grandma, it's almost always the swaggering macho guy who faints while the nerd and the girls are just fine. Yeah, that could very well be. Yeah, Lawn Dog. My wife is from a different era where they used to dissect real frogs. I actually, in my junior high, I think, science class, maybe it was high school, we dissected a frog, and I had a pretty hard time with that. I had a hard time with that. It's just me. Dr. Mom Grandma, little known fact, the blood in Psycho was actually chocolate syrup. Yeah. See, they had when they were shooting in black and white, they had to get stuff that looked right in black and white. And sometimes that meant it would not look right in color at all. So the Perry Mason episode was a perfect example of that. When I saw that recently for the first time in 40 years or whatever, I just went, whoa, okay. They would have had to really change up things a bit if they were going to shoot season 10 in color. Also, interestingly, you remember that, well, there's always a courtroom scene. The last half of the show is generally in the courtroom. And the witness stand, the wood around the witness stand was kind of bluish. The railing was kind of bluish, and the rest of it was kind of greenish. And that was, I'm sure, to make it look right in black and white.
Yeah, they used to in the really old movies. They'd use yellow face paint for the old black and white movies to make it look natural.
Yeah, exactly. But then
blood was chocolate because nobody saw the color.
Right, exactly.
It was chocolate syrup.
You know, it's just who I is, and that is it. So let's see. Oh, I wanted to say thanks to Mick, who actually took a photo of us just a few minutes ago off of his 50-inch TV and put it up on somewhere, like almost immediately. Ain't technology grand? I just love it. It's a Facebook. It's a Facebook thing. But so is that Mick? Are you the guy who just got the Toshiba TV? Am I correct about that? Waikiki Guru, wow, spent a year traveling the world, including Russia and China. Wow, that must have been awesome. I'm jealous of you for that, for sure.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater, digital photography. We're talking smartphones, we're talking smart watches. And we're here to reassure Murray. That's our job today, right, Murray? Cheering you up. So Murray was asking about Chubb Insurance, which is a very high-end insurance company, offering cyber protection for individuals against ransomware and identity theft. It wasn't cheap. $250,000 for $500 a year. That sounds like a lot. I think my life insurance is less than that. So either Chubb really is worried that people are going to take advantage of this, or I don't know. Are there, I guess, insurance companies base everything on numbers, on statistics, on what they call actuarial tables. Are there actuarial tables for how many people are going to get hit by ransomware? Even if there were, the risk profiles changed dramatically over the last few years. We thought, in fact, I remember people saying 2018 was a terrible year for ransomware. We thought it was over. Far from it. 2019 is a worse year for ransomware. So there's no way an insurance company could know or predict statistically what your chance of getting bit is, especially since a lot of it depends on your own behavior. It's kind of more like car insurance than it is home insurance. But Murray said something, and I thought I'd replay that a few months or years ago I'd said something that reassured him about the likelihood of getting attacked. And it is this, and I get it from, oh boy, I wish I could remember who. Probably Bruce Schneier, who's one of my security gurus, or maybe Brian Krebs, another security guru. Both have excellent security blogs. They're really tip-top security experts. Or it might have been, no, I know who it was from. It was Kevin Roos, who's a writer. Kevin, a few years ago, did a really dumb thing. He invited two hackers, to break into his personal life. He said, just go ahead on the condition that you don't use it against me, that you let me know when you get the information. His article, which is a wonderful article, starts off with, he was sitting in his computer and a voice said, "You look bored." In his house, in his apartment, he's looking at his computer and he hears a voice say, "You look bored." That was the sign that the hacker had gotten into his system and was able not only to control it, but to play sounds back through it. Not a good thing. Roos did get hacked. He said, even though I knew it, I expected it, I was waiting for the attack, I fell for it both times. I got hacked. Once was through a traditional software hack, another through an email, another through social engineering. Quite a clever attack. He then went out and talked to security experts, and one of them said the thing that I thought that really resonated with me. Essentially, it's impossible to protect yourself. It really is. If a determined adversary with limitless resources, maybe a government, for instance, let's say, don't get the North Koreans upset at you because they have the hackers, they have the resources, they can get in no matter what. And I'll tell you the evidence I use for that. The back-end operations for many Vegas casinos is run by a company owned by Shelley Adelson. And they do the back-of-house stuff for some of the biggest casinos in Vegas. They, in other words, handle a lot of money, a lot of transactions. It's a mess. These guys are a target. And one would think, because there's so much money involved, that they would have the best cybersecurity money can buy. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they did. Didn't stop them from getting hacked by the Iranians. An Iranian hacking collective shut down the Las Vegas Sands Corporation in 2015 and took, millions and millions of dollars, I presume. Now, if the Sands Corporation, the casino back ends with millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of money going through there, controlled by one of the richest men in the world, Sheldon Adelson, can't prevent the Iranian government from attacking and hacking and getting in successfully, you and I have very little chance if a determined attacker wants to get us. But here's what the security expert told Kevin Roose. They said, well, if you're walking down the street and a ninja decides to attack you, there's not much you can do. You can't really protect yourself. But most people walk down the street safely without any fear of ninjas because it's rare. So you probably should treat your vulnerability that way. Yes, we're all vulnerable. His article, by the way, was originally written for Fusion. It's now on splinternews.com. I'll put a link in it in the show notes to it. It goes back a few years, 2016. I dared two expert hackers to destroy my life. Here's what happened. and I'll give you the bottom line. They did. Or they could have if they had been malicious. But remember this point. You can protect yourself reasonably well. Do everything you want to protect yourself, and you should. And we talk about backups. We talk about malware prevention. We talk about safe surfing and all of that. If for some reason you get on the bad side of somebody with unlimited resources and mad skills, doesn't matter. They're going to get you. They're going to get you. So I don't know. What's the bottom line? Not to worry. Not to worry, because there's nothing you can do. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. It's from a security expert named Marcus Bauer. I hope I'm saying his name right. Morgan Marcus Bauer. He's a Google veteran director of security at First Look Media. He asked Kevin, do you worry about trained martial artists beating you up on the street? Not particularly, I responded. But you're aware they exist. You're also aware that you probably couldn't do anything about it if one of them wanted to beat you up on the street. His point, he explained, was that while people can and should take basic steps to protect their digital security, most people probably shouldn't worry about being subjected to a mega hack like the one Kevin Roose volunteered for. The real danger isn't the trained martial artist attacking you. It's the thief who notices your car's unlocked and decides to help himself to some electronics. The drive-by hacks. So do the basic stuff. Protect yourself against the drive-bys. And don't worry about the North Koreans or the Iranians or the Saudis. There's nothing you could do. And, I would guess, I'm not going to somebody just in the chat room said, well, don't you worry yourself, Leo, being in the public eye as you are? I mean, here I am posing as the tech guy on a national radio show. I talk about technology on my podcast network all week long. I say I'm an expert in this stuff. Presumably, I would be a target. I haven't been bit in a long time. Many, many years ago, about 20 years ago, I got one of the early Mac malwares because I, like many people, said, oh, yeah, I'm on a Mac. I'm safe. I don't have to worry about that. After that, I took normal precautions, and I haven't been bit since. It's possible to protect yourself. Now, if the North Koreans take a disliking to me, I'm out of luck. I'm not going to worry about that. All right, let's take a break. We're going to go back to the phones. 8888 Ask Leo. I will put a link to Kevin's article in the show notes. That's at techguylabs.com. By the way, that's free. There's no charge to read that and leave a comment even. There's no sign up or anything. Just go to techguylabs.com. We want to make that available to you free of charge just because I like you. And because our fine sponsors pay us plenty. We don't need to get any more money out of you. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Website techguylabs.com. Be calm, be cool, be collected. We're safe. More calls right after this. $8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. On we go to line 4. Jason in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Leo. How you doing today?
I am well. How are you?
Good. Hey, I had called you. It was either last week or the week before. I can't remember. About my Note 8 with the screen staying on when I was in a call.
Yeah.
And I wanted to update you on that because I was able to get it fixed here, and I wanted to let you know what the resolution was.
Fantastic. I thought it might be the proximity sensor. What was it?
Yes, and you had suggested trying the screen timeout setting, turning it down to 15 seconds. Well, as a last attempt before I took it to Verizon, I ended up doing a factory reset on the phone. Oh, there you go. And it solved it. So whether it was that upgrade to Android 9.0 didn't go good, or there was some application messing with it, or the proximity sensor, some setting with it, it solved it. Now you know why when you call a company, say Verizon or Samsung or Google and or Microsoft, and say, my computer's not working, the first thing they do is they say, well, we're going to reset it first, because it's hard to tell what's going on with any software you might have installed, or maybe a bad update. So doing that factory reset is a good idea. And it's not too bad on Android because almost everything is backed up anyway by either Samsung or Google. So you don't have to do a lot of... into my Google account, it re-downloaded it all. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a downtime, a couple hours while it's re-downloading the apps, but otherwise you're pretty much back to where you were. Well, good. I'm glad that worked. Thanks for filling me in. You're welcome. And if I could just ask you one more quick question I heard you talk about when I was on hold. You said you are a Linux user, and I was wondering what your Linux distribution of choice is, as I'm a Linux user as well, if you don't mind. Well, it just changed. So for a long time, I liked so everybody knows about Ubuntu, which is very well known because dot-com billionaire Mark Shuttleworth decided, as almost a benefit to society, he was going to put a lot of money into taking Debian, which is a community distribution, cleaning it up, making it easy to install. And Ubuntu give away free disks. Ubuntu has for a long time been kind of the default for the easy to install Linux. I always preferred Debian, the original, because it's a community project. There's no commercial interests. And a couple of times, unfortunately, Ubuntu did some things I didn't like. They automatically installed an Amazon account on the machine. I didn't like that. They had some stuff that they were doing where they were sending stuff back to the home office. Didn't like that. So I like Debian. Lately, I've also used a version of Arch, which is easily the best documented version of Linux. And I've been using an Arch installer called Antergos that I liked a lot. But I ran into a kind of a brick wall on some of my more recent machines that have dedicated NVIDIA video cards. That is always a problem for Linux.
and can make the install a little tricky. There's also a lot of new hardware like fingerprint readers and screens that are high resolution, high DPI, they call them. And I found a version of Linux that I am now telling everybody, and you should, anybody who thinks about trying it should check out, called Pop OS. It's from a company I like a lot called System 76. They're one of the few companies that sell Linux laptops, and I have several of their machines and desktops. I have several of their machines, and I had one of their machines. I was just having a devil of a time getting running, so I downloaded and installed Pop OS. It installs in like literally 5 minutes. Out of the box is almost perfect. Understands a lot of hardware, more modern hardware, like even some fingerprint readers. It understands the high DPI screens. You don't have to mess with the screen resolution. It can see the NVIDIA card, puts the proprietary NVIDIA drivers, not the Nouveau drivers, in. So it does all the things I really like, and it makes it very easy. So I've been reinstalling Linux on many of my machines, starting with Pop OS. And honestly, even if you're brand new to Linux, you just want to try it out, I think Pop OS is the easiest to install and works with modern hardware better than anything else I've tried. It's a spin on Ubuntu, which is a spin on Debian. So it has good roots. But I think System 76 has done a dynamite job of making it modern. What do you like?
I've kind of done a lot of distro hopping myself. I've done Arch. I've done the
Arch is a real man's Linux. So, and I say that facetiously, ladies. It could also be a real woman's Linux. The idea of Arch is, in order to install Arch, you have to learn how Linux works and sort of install it from scratch. It has, as a result, the best documentation of any version of Linux. The Arch Wiki, even if you're using somebody else's version of Linux, is the best Linux wiki ever. And I should point out, Linux, which is a free operating system, it competes with Windows and Mac OS, runs on almost all PCs. It's free, open source, doesn't maybe have all the applications, doesn't have all the Windows applications, but it can run a great many of them. And I think on its own is very, very good. And it's absolutely free. But because it's open source, there are many different versions. They call them distributions. And you're a distro hopper, as am I. We like to try different versions to see what's new and different. There's different graphical environments. They call them desktop environments that you can try and so forth. What is your current go-to?
As of right now, I am on Ubuntu. I wanted to try out the 1904, which, as you know, is a shorter release cycle than the long-term support. And I did that because I'm putting a lot of family and friends on Ubuntu, so I want to be able to support them.
Download Pop OS. If you like Ubuntu, it's even like cleaner. And that's the one I'm going to tell family and friends from now on. I really think, and it's free like almost all Linux is from system76.com. I really like it. I'll tell you a couple of problems I have with 1904 off the air, because I see people nodding off. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I did, Pop OS is now at 1904, which is another reason I like them. They really keep up to date. And the only problem with that is a number of programs don't yet have release versions for 1904. It's so new. Probably not anything you or your family or friends are going to run to, but for instance, there's no Docker release version for 1904. There's no, right. I use a Racket language, which I really like, but there's no Dr. Racket release for 1904. So you can't auto update them yet. But that's going to, that just takes a little while as they catch up. That's why it's good probably not to use the latest version always, it's too soon. But I like to. I'm sure you like to too. Take a look at Pop OS. I think you'll be if I were going to get, a non-computer literate friend who's saying, I can't use Windows anymore, I would tell them, try Pop OS. It's fast to install too. They don't, unlike even Ubuntu, there's not a lot of questions. And I don't know what they're doing to blast it on, but it blasts onto the hard drive in a minute. I mean, it's the fastest install, even faster than Windows.
Okay, very good. I will give it a try, and sorry to go off topic from my original call there. I appreciate
I'll talk about Linux all day. I really, I think we have to do it. We should be doing a Linux show, honestly. But I say that every year.
That would be great. I think you would have a good listener base on that.
It's so much fun. It's really like it used to be, the old days of computing, when you really, you could be a geek. I really like that.
You have control over your computer.
It's your operating system. It's not phoning home. That's what soured me on Ubuntu a little bit. But System 76 is a really great company, and they have put a lot of effort, and they have polished this thing up, and it is amazing. Just put it on one of your old machines. The thing is, I was having trouble getting on the brand new Lenovo X1 Extreme, getting any version of Linux to run, because it's a hybrid. It's got a discrete graphics as well as built-in graphics, and it just was confusing the hell out of Linux. And Tergos, which normally does a very good job, just barfed, just wouldn't install. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will give Papa West a try.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Leo.
Thank you, Jason.
You have a good day.
Take care.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. You too.
Yeah, if you ask me about Linux, you're going to get a long answer. I'm sorry. And I also know this is not mass appeal programming. Oy. Apologies. Every once in a while I have to geek out. Leo Laporte, the tech guy riding that crazy train. Jerry, Great Falls, Montana. Hello, Jerry.
Thanks, Leo.
What can I do for you, my friend?
I want to increase the volume out of my laptops. Can I do it with a external sound card?
Absolutely. So the laptop has its own sound card built in, obviously. All computers do. And it has whatever limits are on the sound card. Oftentimes, the speakers in the laptop are the real limit, because they don't put a big speaker in a laptop. It takes up too much space. So there's a couple of choices. One, you have probably almost all laptops have a headphone jack. If you have one of those, you could plug that into a pair of powered speakers. There are lots of manufacturers of powered speakers. My favorite is a little pricier, but the sound is excellent. It's a company called Audio Engine. So if you plug the audio engine into the headphone jack, or even better, get a USB interface, and then you can get those audio engines as loud as you want. You could power a stadium if you wanted to, because they have a separate amplifier. So they're not limited. If you put unpowered speakers on that headphone jack, they would be limited by the maximum the laptop would put out. The laptops don't have big amplifiers. They don't have big speakers. Honestly, it's like the speakers you get on a modern TV. It's there because, well, if they didn't put it, people would complain, but nobody expects you to be actually using them. So I always have powered speakers hooked up. The reason a USB is preferable to the audio jack is because you're taking the digital to analog conversion outside the laptop. If you take the audio jack, you're getting an analog signal out of the laptop. That means somewhere inside the laptop they're using a DAC, a digital to analog converter, that takes the bits that the laptop hears and turns them into waves that the speaker can play. If you use a USB adapter, you're getting the bits. That USB adapter is going then into a dongle of some kind, which could be an amplifier. I use a headphone amp, for instance, that will also give you louder sound. But that dongle will have its own DAC, often a better DAC than built into the computer. And if it has an amplifier, then you'll also be able to turn the volume up. So if, for instance, your headphones aren't getting loud enough with the laptop, use a USB digital to analog converter plus headphone amp, and you'll be able to get a lot more sound out of there. You want to use speakers or headphones?
Speakers.
Yeah. Look, there's power. All sorts of companies make powered speakers. Like I said, I pretty much stick with Audio Engine. They're my favorite. But Cambridge Soundworks, Logitech, that's the same company. But lots of companies make these. Polk Audio. Just you want powered speakers because they have their own amplifier, they can get as loud as you want, depending on how much amplification you throw at it. Jeremy in Van Nuys, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jeremy.
Yeah, hi, Leo.
Hey.
I have the original Xbox, and I finally got around to soft modding it because I wanted to get the music off of there.
Yeah.
The only problem is that the music files, in the Xbox dashboard they have the names and the albums all correct, but when I go into the mod dashboard, it turned it into a bunch of numbers.
Oh. Huh. That's probably the names of the files as opposed to the metadata that's attached to the file. So when you're using the Xbox to look at it, yeah, you see the metadata. But when you're using the mod browser is just showing you the file name. It doesn't know about the metadata. What you want to find is something that will understand they're probably MP3 files. Are they MP3 files?
No, I think it was a WMA file.
Oh, UMA. Okay. Yeah, that makes it a little trickier. Do you want to pull them off of the Xbox, or you would just want to play them from the Xbox?
I already did. I FTP'd them over to my laptop.
Excellent.
They're all on my laptop.
Right. So you need something that will convert a UMA file. And I am not sure. Here's the question. So MP3s keep their metadata in a caboose, a little file that's attached or a part of the MP3 file where the artist name, the album name, the song title, all of that stuff are stored. There's quite, as you know, if you look at an MP3 file, if you look in iTunes or whatever and you see the info, that's all in the metadata. It's not in the file name. It's attached to the MP3 file. I don't know if UMA files have such a facility. If they do, then it'd be simple. You get a UMA converter, and all the data you need would be there. My fear is, and this isn't an unusual situation, there may be, instead of being part of the file, a separate XML-style file or database-style file on the Xbox that attaches the file name to that extra data. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to get that XML file, the database file, and you're going to have to somebody's probably written a program that will figure out how to apply that to the file metadata. If it's UMA, you sure it's not WMA? If it's WMA, then you're cool.
Yeah, it's WMA.
Oh, good. What a relief. So WMA does support metadata. It's a Windows media file. Those are easy to play. Anything will play WMA, including, so if you copy it to computer, if you download VLC, which is a wonderful free tool, the Video LAN client, and you can get it for free from videolan.org. They have Windows, Mac, Linux versions, Android and iOS too. It'll play those WMA files just fine. And it'll see the metadata, and it'll show you the proper metadata. It's attached to the file. UMA would have been a different problem. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, sometimes you get these proprietary platforms like an Xbox, especially the original Xbox, which came out when? 2000, I want to say 3? So MP3s were around, but it makes sense, Microsoft, because Xbox runs Windows, basically, a special version of Windows. It would make sense that they'd use their own Windows media format. If you had copied them to a Windows machine and opened a WMA file, Windows Media Player would have played it just fine. And in fact, if you're on Windows, Windows Media Player will also show the additional information, the metadata. 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536, the phone number. I might have some time to get one more in here before the break. Chris in Ripon, is it Ripon, Wisconsin? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, we say Ripon.
Ripon Reed. Hello, yes. Chris. What can I do for you? Well,
I'm running a 20th century program on my 586DX processor using DOS 6.2. And I've taken this so that I could get it transferred to a modern computer with a virtual DOS on it.
Oh, cool. So you need DOS to run this old 20th century program, I guess.
Yeah, you probably have to explain that to your audience.
What's DOS, Daddy? Oh, you don't want to know, son.
But I like the program, and now, these days you can only rent what I need, and this program's working just fine. So yeah. I've been flipping along and buying my dot matrix printers on eBay.
So you need free DOS.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not sure what I need, but I've tried to get it moved and run that program on a new machine. And one local tech tried it didn't have any success. And, I've asked around at other tech shops and Geek Squad, and I'm just not finding anybody that'll take on the project.
Oh, it's a project you could do quite easily. Go to FreeDOS, FREEDOS.org. It is an open source DOS, disk operating system. Kids in the old days, before menus and Windows, we used to do everything on a command line by typing it, using a disk operating system called MS-DOS or PC-DOS. FreeDOS is an open source DOS-compatible system. A lot of people use it to play DOS games. So that would work just fine with your DOS line of business application. Easy to use. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So the only issue is how you're going to run it. You could put it on, some people put it on a floppy along with the disk. You probably don't have a floppy in your modern computer, I'm thinking. Oh, is he gone? Oh, I was going to give him more information. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be in a virtual machine. You could download from Oracle. You could download OneBox and or VirtualBox, I mean, and install FreeDOS in that window and make yourself a DOS window. I think FreeDOS might even do that. You might be able to create a virtual machine. You can also multi-boot. I don't think you want a DOS boot. Great movie, but not a good idea on your PC. I'm just looking at the FreeDOS. Steve Gibson uses FreeDOS to run Brief, a DOS program, as his programming editor on Windows 7. Commander Keen, that'd be fun. I'm just looking at ways you could do it. So you could do, you could also, what, the best way to do it? I know what you do. USB key. You put FreeDOS on a USB key. You boot to the USB key. You got your game or program, whatever, on it. You can run it on there. That's just basically a little virtual machine. You can run it anywhere. That's the way to do it. But if you want that window always open, what do you say, DBase 2? If you want the window always open, that's the way to do it. VirtualBox, when it asks for an operating system, you install FreeDOS. Now you have a DOS window. And you just open it in the DOS window. You open the window and you open your program, and there it is. And so you could have your DBase 2 in a window on your Windows machine running all the time. I thought Commander Keen was the best game ever. That's what I thought. Seems like FreeDOS, I should look at this. Seems like they should be a simple thing for them to have like a little virtual machine that they could run inside Windows. Like maybe that's too much work. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, our musical director. Michael Cozio filling in for Big Pee Wee, playing the hits. Stan in Bel Air, Washington. Hello, Stan.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
You know me as Hawaii Cop.
Oh, hi, Hawaii Cop.
I haven't talked to you in a long time, but...
well, I see you in the chat room all the time, so thank you for visiting us there.
Oh, yeah, I've been with you for years.
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to give you some information about OTA, over-the-air television. And it's a device you've never talked about before. It's called Tablo.
Oh, I don't know that. Tell me about it.
It's Tablo. It's a great DVR. It'll record over the air up to 4 shows at one time. And they just this last week have installed a new update, which now automatically cuts out the commercials on all recorded shows over the air.
Oh, whoa. It used to be you'd get put out of business for doing something like that, but for some reason, TiVo's got a skip now, and apparently everybody does. So it's a little box. How does it connect to it connects to a computer? What does it connect to?
What it does, it connects to your network, and of course it receives from the antenna on the roof.
Okay.
And then you can use it over any device you've got. iPhone, your laptop, or whatever.
Oh, so it's standalone. It doesn't need a hard drive to record to, or does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it has a small memory of its own, but I've got it's like a 2 terabyte small hard drive plugged into it, so it records.
So you can just plug. There's a USB port in the back, and you can just plug in a hard drive on the back, and it'll record that. Yeah. See, I see the connectors. It's got a coax for the cable.
Yeah.
Or the antenna. It's got a USB port. It's got an Ethernet connector, and then a power connector. That's it.
Yeah. The only thing it doesn't have is HDMI.
So how do you play back?
You just play it back over. It's got a website. All right.
Oh, you're playing over the network.
Yeah,
because I see that it says it has apps for Roku, other smart TV boxes. So you'd put the Tableau app on your Apple TV, your Roku, your Fire TV, and then that would see the Tableau on the network and be able to play the data into the TV. Yeah, so that's where the HDMI port comes in. I get it. I'm going to have to pick one of these up. You like it, huh?
Oh, I've had it for about 2 years now, and I love it, especially because it'll record 4 programs at the same time.
Yeah, it's got 4 tuners, $200, sold out. What? Sold out?
Well, I don't know about that part.
Yeah, I'm at the website. 4 over-the-air ATSC tuners, so it does over-the-air tuning, which is wonderful. So you have to have a good antenna for that.
Now, here's I wanted to talk to you about that because I live 35 miles from Seattle, over the hills and valleys and trees and all that, and I just put a 75-mile antenna on the roof, not very large. It's not very large. It faces the, and then you just use a little amplifier inside.
Do you have to aim it? I guess not, because all your TV signals are coming from one direction.
Yeah, basically you have to aim it, but you use TV Fool.
Yep.
And I've done tests looking at Petaluma, and you should have no problem. I promise you.
TVFool.com. It's a website we've recommended in the past. We don't get over-the-air TV up here. We're just far enough north. But you think TV Fool says I should be able to with one of them 75-mile antennas on my roof?
Yeah, because I'm in the yellow. On TV Fool, green is all perfect, and yellow is
signal strength.
And that's why I got the bigger antenna. I got them over Amazon, of course. It's only maybe 3 feet by 3 feet, and it's a flat screen.
You're getting the best deal in I mean, if you're a cord cutter, the big problem is, well, how do I get local stations? How do I get live shows? I want to watch the Super Bowl or the Academy Awards. I want to watch the nightly news. How do I do that? If you're able to get over-the-air signals, by the way, the best HD you'll ever see is over-the-air. All you need is a tuner, which this provides, and it even does it in DVR, which I think is very cool. So for $200, if they only weren't out of stock, I'm sure they're making them as fast as they can.
Yeah, they make more than one model.
This is the quad tuner I'm looking at. But that's a really kind of cool thing. I like it. So you're right. I haven't recommended it in the past. I will order one, and as soon as they come back in stock, I'll give you some feedback.
The only expense on it is to get the menu, the channel, is $5 a month.
Ah, the cable guide. They get you every time. Yeah, that's where Channel Master has an advantage. They don't charge for the TV guide.
They have whole pages on it where you can shows you all the main television shows.
Yeah, you need it.
You just click the one. No, this is not even part of that. And you just click the one you want, and that's to tell it to record every time a new show comes on.
Otherwise, you have to set the recorder by time and date, and that's not nearly as convenient. I remember those days. Remember the blinking 12 on your VCR? You'd get that all set up, and then you'd say, I want to record Mannix from 8:30 to 9 on Channel 4 every Tuesday.
Yeah, that's it.
And then cross your fingers.
I'm a little like you, Leo. I built my first computer in 1976, and it was a Heathkit.
Well, there you go. That's the way to do it.
And I was in radio as a DJ those same times, so we have a little.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah. All right, what are you doing these days?
Well, I'm retired. I do websites on the side, and I'm also an FAA drone pilot, and I do real estate stuff.
Oh, that's cool. I think drones are great, but they won't let me buy any more drones. I've crashed too many.
I know. You made the one major mistake. Don't do them off a boat.
Don't do it on a boat. Geez, you'd think I'd have known a little better than that.
Yeah.
Very good. The Tableau, Tablo. Right. Thank you for that recommendation. And it's at tablotv.com. You can get the dual light is the one that's in stock still, but the The dual and the quads are both sold out. Obviously, either they're doing well or they're doing terribly. I can't.
I think especially when they just updated the new program so that you can cut out the commercials. It's really cool. I
can't believe they can do that. They're going to buy them now before the networks catch a hold of them. Now, they do have a Tableau 4 tuner over-the-air DVR. That's in stock.
I think that's the one I've got.
Is that the one you have for cord cutters, 4 over-the-air ATSC tuners, Ethernet or Wi-Fi, whole home and out-of-home streaming, USB storage, surround sound 5.1. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, just want to let you know, Leo.
Thank you. Appreciate the tip.
Okay, take care.
All right, Hawaii cop, stay cool. Where in Hawaii did you cop?
Oh, I was Honolulu Police Department.
Nice. And you retired to beautiful Washington State.
Well, I came from Washington, and I was in the military 22 years there, so I was in Hawaii 43 years.
Wow. See, and we were thinking of retiring to Hawaii, but maybe we'll go up to Washington. If it's better than Hawaii, I'm going to Washington.
I told you about Paulsville before. It's a perfect.
Oh yeah, you told me about Paulsville. That's where I want to go.
Yeah, you can have a beautiful boat there, and you don't have to go out in the open ocean.
Perfect. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Stan. Have a good one.
Thank you, Leo. Bye bye.
See, it's funny because you get to know these people. I get to know people like Stan in the chat room. It really is a little community of people watching the show live. I've had a chat room since I started doing this radio show in 1992. In continuous operation now. For what is that, 27 years? irc.twit.tv if you want to check it out. There's lots of people in there, all with funny names like Hawaii Cop and Desert Moon and Loquacious V1. And, of course, the world-famous Dr. Mom Grandma. It's very confusing. All right. Tech Guy Podcast brought to you today, just like my blog, by WordPress.com. I love WordPress. Been a WordPress. Just knocked over my mints. Actually, it's my rattle. I've been a WordPress customer since, I just got my WordPress.com 12-year button. But it even goes back before that, because when WordPress first came out, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I did it myself on my own server, and that was a lot of work. So when the folks at WordPress announced WordPress.com, I was there. They do all the hosting. They do all the configuration, the security patches, everything. So you always have an up-to-date version of WordPress. It always works. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, support from real WordPress enthusiasts, the best support staff anywhere. That's why WordPress is the place to make your mark on the internet. No wonder 33% of every website in the world runs on WordPress software. 33%, including some of the biggest publications in the world, like Fortune.com and Quartz.com. They run on WordPress.com. My blog, LeoLaporte.com, runs on WordPress.com. Steve Gibson's blog runs on WordPress.com. Everybody uses WordPress.com, not only because it's easy to use, but they've got powerful tools for building your site. You don't have to be a geek. It's easy. Thousands of themes, all the plugins you'd ever want, including the best anti-spam plugin. They really keep your comments clean. And, of course, that great support. Here's the deal. WordPress.com lets anyone pursue whatever it is they love by launching a site that's free to start with room to grow. And there's, free to start. You heard me say that right. And room to grow. No 2-week trials, no hidden fees. WordPress users own their own content forever. You can't say that about Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. No, you own your content. That means you can upload anything, text, pictures, video, music, and download it anytime. It's theirs. It's there, and it's yours to keep forever. The customer support team is awesome. The platform is so flexible and powerful. Millions of people use WordPress.com every day to turn their dreams into a reality. Whether you're an individual or a business, you need WordPress.com. We've got a deal for you. Little way of letting them know you heard the ad on the Tech Guy podcast. You go to WordPress.com/TechGuy, and as a thank you to you, you'll get 15% off your new plan purchase. 15% off. And so thank you, WordPress, for your support. And thank you for supporting us by going to WordPress.com/TechGuy. WordPress. It's a win-win-win. Win all the way around. WordPress.com/TechGuy. 15% off your brand new website. Thank you, WordPress. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yep, time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We talk smartphones, smartwatches, Mac, Windows, Linux, augmented reality, virtual reality, anything with a chip in it. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. 888-827-5536. You can call me and we can talk. We can geek out. You and me. Dana, Grenada Hills, California. Hello, Dana. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, good afternoon, Leo.
Afternoon.
I have a 15-year-old sports bar type video dartboard.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah,
do you throw darts at it?
Well, I mean, it's a full-on dartboard with not the real metal darts, but the regular, the non-metal darts.
This is cool. You could probably get $80 for that on eBay.
Well, I spent several $1,000s on it about, as I say, about 15 years ago.
So instead of throwing darts, you had some sort of thing that you would throw at it that it would sense.
Well, they're plastic darts.
Yeah.
And it's a real dartboard, and then it has a video screen below it, and you can play different games and that sort of thing on it.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Anyway.
Obviously, it was, it was for fancy people, which is why I don't know about it. But did you have this in your downstairs bar and rec room, your man cave?
Yeah, my pinball room and
nice.
A little arcade. But anyway, I'm concerned that if the hard drive dies, that it's going to be a $4,000 plastic, just regular dartboard with no video. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a clone, copy that hard drive. I believe it works on the Linux operating system.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I've looked at other people speaking about this on the internet, and it looks like when they just clone the drive and pop it in, it doesn't work. That there's some sort of a serial number, like a security check on it.
Yeah.
And the company used to be in. They used to have an office in the United States.
Which company is this? Wizard?
Medalist.
Okay.
Spectrum dartboard. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to clone that drive and clone the serial number along with it.
Right.
So that when that hard drive dies, I can just pop another one in, and I don't have it, a bricked a bricked system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a video on YouTube of this thing. It's pretty cool. It's presumably for arcades originally.
Yeah, arcades and sports bars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's in a cabinet. So my only experience with this kind of thing dating back to roughly this era is with the TiVo, the original TiVo Series 1, which I wrote a book on. And they had hard drives that were blessed. So the hard drive itself had data on it, but in order to use it in a TiVo, it was a standard hard drive, but in order to use it in a TiVo, you had to bless it, which really means you had to make some bitwise changes, I suppose, to the hard drive that would make it TiVo compatible. And it's my guess, this is roughly the same era, the early 2000s. It's my guess that they had some sort of system like this. And it's to prevent piracy. You can't just put in a bigger drive or take that drive and clone it and that kind of thing. The problem with many cloning programs is they may not see that particular part of the hard drive. It might be hidden away on a hidden sector or a master boot record, that kind of thing. The cloning program I would attempt to use, it'd be worth it a try, is free. It's called Clonezilla. And
Clonezilla.
Clonezilla is the most geeky cloning program of them all, clonezilla.org. You actually end up, in order to do it, you'll probably make a boot disk, Linux boot disk that you'll put in your machine, and then you'll connect both drives. It would be better, and it supports every format, every kind of system. It's, you know, you can tell it, I don't want you to copy the file system. I want you to copy the sectors bit by bit, that kind of thing. I think of all the cloning programs, it's the most likely to be able to see through whatever this system is and get a copy of it. It's certainly free to try, no big deal. It would be better not to do this over USB because USB might hide that sector, that hidden thing. You really would like to do it. How is it connected? Is it a SATA drive? It's probably IDE from that era.
You know, I didn't dig into it before I called you.
Yeah, I bet you if you look inside
it's an older drive.
Yeah, it's older. They didn't even have SATA 15 years ago. I don't think it's probably IDE.
Right.
So you're going to want to get an IDE interface, and you're going to want a second drive that's IDE. It's
right.
You know, it just really depends on how they've blessed it, what they've done to bless it to make it, you know, so you can't copy it. Your best bet with anything like this, and this is what I did when I wrote the TiVo book, is find the enthusiast forums. Somewhere out there, there's arcade folks who have these, you know, machines, and they've looked into it. You're going to want to find a local expert. So, have you found a medalist forum?
Not a specific one. I have found people discussing it on other forums.
Yeah, maybe go to Reddit, /r/ probably arcade. I bet you there's a Reddit subreddit for arcades or arcade machines, and then ask. There's going to be somebody out there who's licked this thing.
Right, I'm sure.
Yeah, /r/arcade. This is where people hang out who love the old coin-op games, the cabinet games. They say, MAME, the emulator, not welcome here. We like the hardware. And then there's also /CADE, C-A-D-E, which also is a place where people build, restore, and buy dedicated arcade cabinets. So my guess is somebody in there will say, oh, yeah, I have the medalist. Here's what you need to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but it doesn't sound unfamiliar. It sounds like exactly what the TiVo did with the kind of special sector of blessing to prevent this. But I'm sure you can figure out a way to clone it.
Well, I'm going to try.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably not hardware protected. It's probably just a kind of a mild form of copy protection, something simple that you can bypass, I would bet. That sounds cool. Yeah, you want to keep that going. That thing's that's a classic. I bet you actually you could get thousands for it, to be honest.
Perhaps. Yeah. I don't see many, but I didn't look.
You bought it new.
I bought it new. Yeah. And
do you have pinball games too?
Yes, I have a couple of pinball games. One I've had for like 25 years, and then I just bought the new Star Wars Premium from Stern. Man,
I want to come to your man cave. That sounds awesome.
I can't keep my wife off of it.
Your wife? No, it's a woman cave. You got to put a sign up. No wives allowed, man. No, that sounds great.
More than I do.
That's awesome. Pinball's really fun. I have a friend who restores classic pinball games. She's totally in love with these things and does an amazing job. And then of course there's expos where people actually bring their restored pinball games and show them off. They fix the paint, they fix the electronics. It's pretty cool.
Well, if you're ever, speaking of pinball, if you're ever in Banning, California,
yes,
near Palm Springs,
yes,
there's the Museum of Pinball.
Oh,
and
cool.
they have I think over 600 pinball games, starting from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, the old manual ones. Yeah, wow, that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and they have they're open for special events only a few times a year, because it costs them thousands of dollars just to turn on the electricity and power them up.
That's really cool. Hey, it was a pleasure talking to you, Dana. I hope you get it working.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Take care.
It is working. I just want to.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time to do it. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, while it's working.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Leo.
Take care. Yeah, 15-year-old hard drive. Probably would be a good idea to make a spare at this point. And I doubt you could go to Medalist and say, hey, I got any extra electronic dartboard hard drives? You got them in lying around? Probably is. I would guess. Look at the drive. It's probably a standard drive. If it is, then it's just something they've done on the, hidden sectors on the drive that you could probably duplicate if you got a cloning tool that was, low level enough. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's talk high tech. You and me, right after this. Somebody's saying it'd be great if you could convert it to an SSD. I bet you could. You just need to get, low level enough. Hope John Williams doesn't get mad at us. Da-da-da-da. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. In a galaxy long ago. Huh? Oh, of course. It's May the 4th. You see, Mike, you're so with it. You're so hip. Because this is the 4th day of May, this is officially May the 4th day, as in, may the 4th be with you. Ay, ay, ay. What a geek. Rob in San Bernardino, you're next. Hi, Rob.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? May the 4th be with you.
Oh, boy, thank you. I'm having a bit of a programming problem with a few of my machines.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, desktops and laptops, but sometimes when you program them in and you boot them up and they got that press F1 to continue screen.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't. How can I get around that? Is there a way?
Usually when you see that press F1 to continue, boy, I haven't seen that in a long time. What was it that it was missing? It was something's wrong. Doesn't it say an error message?
Most of the time it just says press F1 and it flashes.
And it halts.
It'll stop dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
And you got to hit F1 and then it'll continue and go through the rest of the boot process.
Yeah.
But, you sit and turn on, 15 machines in one day.
No, that's a pain, and it shouldn't be happening. That's only if something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But
I haven't been able to find a way around that.
If it doesn't tell you what's wrong, that's not a whole lot. As I remember, it usually meant that it couldn't find the keyboard. And so when it said press F1 to continue, it was basically saying, well, I don't see a keyboard. If you've got one, press F1, and then it says, oh, I see a keyboard now.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah. Do you have keyboards attached to those machines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just some of them do and some of them don't. It's like even with like some of the Dell machines, a few of them will catch that and a few of them won't.
Yeah, and it doesn't give you an error message. It just says it doesn't say I don't see a keyboard or I don't see a diskette or because usually it'll tell you what's wrong. So a couple of things I would do. One is I would go into the BIOS on those machines, the setup, and I would. In most machines, there's a way to reset it, and what you particularly want to do is the enhanced system configuration data. This is something modern machines don't have anymore, but almost all machines used to have ESCD, and that was an area of non-volatile memory where it would store information about the hardware available on your machine. If you have a machine that has ESCD, reset it. Say, no, whatever you think I have is wrong. So go out, figure out what I have, and rewrite the ESCD data. That might be one thing that would eliminate that F1. The other thing, if it's not fixing it or you don't have ESCD, is as you know there is the button to press to go to the defaults, the BIOS defaults. I would. Have you changed the BIOS a lot?
Not a lot, just one or two minor changes, and that's it.
Well, then you can remember what those are, make a note of those, and go back if you need to. But I would try resetting the BIOS to the default. See, this is something that's happening at that BIOS startup time. because before Windows comes up. So all of the solutions I'm going to have for you are going to have to do with BIOS. Assuming there's nothing wrong with those machines, resetting the ESCD and going back to BIOS defaults would often fix it. The other thing you might do is check to see if there's a BIOS update available.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in fact, if there is, do that instead of either, because that'll reset the ESCD and set the defaults.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking at a Dell support. You said some of them are Dells. I'm looking at a Dell support page that says, BIOS always needs me to press F1 to boot computer. And, you know, this is a non-critical error. The fact that you can press F1 and continue on means whatever's wrong is not a big deal. But I think it just means somehow it's expecting hardware that's not there. And resetting the enhanced system configuration data might help. How old are the machines?
Some of these are like 10, 12 years old.
Yeah. Okay, so there's one other thing. Those machines might need a new battery.
Yeah, I've replaced them as a regular.
Okay, good. So you've replaced those CMOS batteries, those little lithium coin-sized batteries.
Yes.
That, you know, usually if there's an error there, it's because the battery died, and you'll see the date will reset to 1970 or something. There'll be other symptoms.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a pain.
Oh, I know. Well, it's good that you're replacing those. Yeah, these older machines, I haven't seen this press F1 to boot in years.
Well, you know, what I do for work, I run across it. Okay?
So, yeah, and you have a lot of old machines. I would try what I just suggested, those three things, which is look for a BIOS update, clear the enhanced system configuration data, ESCD, and then go to boot setups. Somebody's saying, are these USB keyboards in all of these cases?
No, some are and some aren't.
Some have the old style connectors?
Right. I prefer to use the old connectors, the round ones.
Yeah, the PS2.
First time I redo them, yeah.
Okay.
After I've redone them, then I'll switch them over to the USB, but usually the others first.
So this is a really weird one. In the old PS2 style keyboards, there used to be a chip in there that the boot system would use to start up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's why, as I remember, that was the most common cause of the press F1.
So you're recommending USB?
Maybe anyway. Try a different keyboard. And it may be that the keyboards on those machines are bad. Yeah, maybe try a USB, although I don't know if that would fix that. That's a really intriguing one. Now we're getting into vintage territory if you're using PS2 keyboards. Yeah, I'd try a USB or see if you could swap keyboards if that eliminates the error. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. You probably want to ignore PS2 faults. Somebody's saying that in the chat room. That sounds exactly right. I think you're right, Chumley. We got some old timers in the chat room who've been there, done that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 asks Leo the number. I'm going to be taking Saturday the 18th off to watch my daughter walk in the commencement ceremonies. She's finally graduated from college. Last semester of tuition for me. That is good news. So I'm celebrating that day and her achievement, of course. But we are going to record, so you get a brand new show. So after the show ends in about half an hour, I will keep taking calls for at least another hour. As long as you keep calling, I'll keep answering questions. We do this from time to time, so we get fresh shows for you on the days I take off. So remember, 8888 Ask Leo, and if it's hard to get through during the regular show broadcast times, as it often is, this would be a good time to call in anytime after the next half hour or so, if you're listening live, of course. Jody in Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jody.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm glad to get a hold of you because this is kind of one of those questions that's a little hard to ask via email because there's sound involved.
Oh, good.
And hopefully you've dealt with this before. Hopefully you haven't had to personally deal with it. When we are streaming movies using our Roku on Amazon Prime, Netflix, doesn't really seem to matter. At various times during the movie, we get this weird kind of hissing sound that comes through that's super annoying. It almost sounds like it's raining.
It's white noise, yeah. Yeah.
It's not all the time. It's just at some points when there'll be some, like if there's an action scene or something where that kind of frequency seems to be playing in the audio, you hear this kind of a
yeah.
And it is crazy annoying. We initially just had the Roku connected to the speakers and the monitor, which of course aren't that great. I finally got them connected through my home theater system, and it's been reduced a little bit. I tried EQ, I tried everything, but there's something going on, and it makes it super annoying. Any guesses as to how we can get around that? Or what it is.
And it doesn't happen on just one machine, like your Roku. It happens on a variety of streamers.
Well, I've only noticed it just on our Roku, but we've noticed it whether it's Amazon Prime or Netflix.
But it is from the same. Okay, if it's the same piece of hardware, that's a good thing. If it were different hardware, then you're going to have to look at your. Do you use an AV receiver?
Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to look at that. You'd have to look at your speakers and all that stuff. If it only happens in the Roku, then it's probably an issue with the Roku. I don't think it's an issue with the stream because, as you say, it happens on all different sources, but it is always happening on the Roku box.
It is,
yeah.
And before I called you, I wished I could have done a test with one of the other Rokus in the house, either switching it out or.
I bet you that would fix it.
Yeah.
It's what I believe it is, and I can't be sure, but I believe it's a decoding error. So the Roku does not just get bits of sound like your headphones do, or I'm sorry, it doesn't output bits of sound like the headphones do. It gets a data stream from Netflix or Amazon or HBO or whatever. That data stream includes encoded sound, usually Dolby encoded, and it has to decode it properly and then pass it along to the stereo system. It's probably see now if you are using AV receiver, it may be that it passes straight through, and that the AV receiver has to decode it. So one thing is to look at your sound chain in the Roku, and maybe if it has, I can't remember. I don't think it does. Has setting for digital audio decoding. Try some other settings. And see if the AV receiver will do it properly. Something is going wrong in the decoding, and it's interpreting some of the bits it's getting as white noise, which is exactly what you'd get if you were getting random bits of nothing. It'd be like static.
That makes sense. And there could be an incompatibility. It could be that I'm telling it to send Dolby, and I don't have the Dolby digital.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so
vice versa.
Exactly. So try some different sound settings, but. Honestly, I think your best bet, since you have another Roku, is to swap it out. Okay. How old of a Roku is it?
Oh, this one sits probably 5 years old.
Yeah, you might also benefit from getting a new Roku. They have really updated the players with faster processors, better software, and more capabilities. Now the Roku Ultra plays 4K. If you had a 4K system, you'd want to use that. I would take a look at it, just get the basic Roku, because I'm not a fan of the sticks. They're the cheapest. Is that all they sell now? Yeah, it looks like, except for the Ultra, everything's a stick now. That's interesting.
Huh. And I do have a new, I was given as a gift one of the new, I don't know if it was Chromecast or the Amazon Fire Stick. I was given a new one of those.
And you don't have the same problem with that?
I have not tried it yet, actually. I need to kind of A/B that and see if that works.
It's my guess it's the Roku. And it's something it's doing with the decoding, and now it could be that it's getting stray information from the stream. What are you hooking it up to? Just your internet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Ethernet or Wi-Fi?
It's Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I've seen these kinds of things happen. I've even heard this kind of thing on my own system. Sometimes you get weird things going on.
It's so annoying that there's a lot of movies. It's like, if I got to stream this, I don't even want to watch.
Oh yeah, you need to fix this. First thing you can do, because you have another Roku, swap it out. If that fixes it, well, now you know.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it's not the Roku, and now you have to. Then that's another issue entirely. It's your AV receiver or something like that.
Yeah, and my AV receiver, it's definitely much older. It was a high-end Denon, years and years ago.
Honestly, that might be better.
Yeah.
I think the older gear is probably better made than the newer gear. I use Denon as well. I'm a fan, but that unless you're trying to stream Well, it may not handle Dolby either. One thing that's possible is that it's sending the receiver, that Roku's sending the receiver something it can't decode. Although most normally a receiver would just say, I don't know what this is. But maybe yours is so old it's going, well, I'm just going to play back whatever you send me. And,
yeah, I mean, the system is probably 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
It does have just about every flavor of Dolby in there. I mean, digital, 5.1, 7.1.
Okay, good. All right. As long as it can do Dolby decoding, I think you're all right. Yeah. Try the other Roku. Okay. Is it when you touch it? Is it super hot?
I don't recall that. No.
Okay, because that's another problem Roku's have. It's one of the reasons I don't like the sticks, the things you just plug into the TV, because they overheat. They don't have enough surface volume to really cool themselves. But you've got the box, and it doesn't feel really hot. Next time, if it does it, when it's doing the touch the box, see if it's too hot to the touch.
Yeah, and if it is, I'll touch it again with a hammer.
Nice. Also, look at your cables. Yeah, look at your cables. But I think the first thing to do is just swap that other Roku in and see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
I will definitely try that. And I'll try the Fire Stick as well and just see if that...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I have I've got a MacBook Pro. I think it's a 2011. I like old things. And
good, because I'm an old thing.
Yeah, it's been working great for so long. And I was on location. I'm a filmmaker, and everything was working fine. And then I went to turn it on, and nothing would happen. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Knew the battery was charged. Plug in the power supply. Okay, it's great with the power supply, but the moment I unplugged the power supply, it stopped working.
Yeah, your battery's dead.
Yeah, so I took it to an Apple store, and I was leaving the next day to go to Africa, of course, on a shoot.
Cool.
And they checked and said, yeah, your battery's no good. You're going to have to either replace the battery or just run it off your AC. They didn't have any batteries, of course, so I ended up having to spring for a new $3,000 MacBook.
Oh!
Thank you very much.
Oh!
I had to have it. I was using it for editing. And
oh, man.
Only option, yeah, it's painful. So anyway, I get back, and I'm going to transfer some files over, and now it won't even come on at all, even with the AC power supply.
Uh-oh.
So I'm wondering what they may have done inside that, and if I take it to an Apple store here in L.A., would they go, yeah, that was our bad?
No, well, so they had it for a while?
No, they did it right there when I was in the store.
Yeah, I don't think they did anything. It's on a lot of laptops, if the battery's dead, the laptop won't run because it's going through the battery. So maybe just that simple, and putting a new battery in, it'll let you get to your files. I don't think they would do anything that would delete your data. They didn't take it in the back, did they?
Well, they did.
Uh-oh.
And, of course. They came back. All they said was, yeah, you're going to have to get a new battery.
I think it's because the battery's dead. You know, a lot of laptops, if you can remove the battery, because remember, the power goes through the battery on all laptops. If you remove the battery, then the laptop will work fine. But if you put the failed battery back in, it won't. And it's my guess the battery was just good enough for you to get some juice so you could boot up, but then it's just completely failed now, and you're not getting enough juice.
Yeah, I mean, it won't work with the AC power supply.
Yeah. Because the power supply goes through the battery. So if they replace the battery, then everything will be fine.
Okay. Do you have
Although, again, your instinct is right. Almost always I say before you bring something in, even if it's something like a battery replacement, back up your hard drive, because many times people get their computer back from the shop and there's nothing on it.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, they just did something real quick.
Yeah, they didn't erase anything.
They went back and checked and said, yeah, it's your battery.
I think the drive was just dead. I mean, the battery was just dead. And ask them specifically, say, hey, it died and I couldn't copy my data, so please, if you have to do anything to delete the data, let me know. They will do that. I've done that at the Apple Store.
Okay, that's good to know. And I have an SSD in there, so at least that's a little better.
Yeah, I mean, worst case, you could open it, pull the SSD, depending on what model, and put it in a new machine. What model is the laptop?
It's the 15-inch it's MacBook Pro.
Touch bar? Touch bar?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll be a card you can remove or an SSD you can remove. The more modern ones, they're soldered in.
Right, because I'd like to just put a new battery in here.
Yeah.
And my wife needs a laptop.
No, that's the cheapest thing to do. It's $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you how would you do that? Would you order a battery from
No. Have Apple do it. You have to have Apple do it.
Okay.
They don't want anyone to touch their precious computers. Seriously. They're fighting hard against the right to repair. They don't want anybody to touch that stuff.
I believe it.
Yep.
So just go to the Apple store and let them do it.
And it's not expensive. It's $129, something like that.
Okay. Mighty fine.
Hey, nice to talk to you. You do features?
I have worked on features. Most of my work has been in the documentary world. I've done a lot of shows, and I worked on NCIS for a bunch of years and JAG.
Fun.
And
are you an editor? Is that what you do?
no, I'm a director and a cinematographer. But
cool.
For a freelance guy, you wear a lot of hats. So I edit a bunch of my own stuff. And the past couple of years, actually, Blackmagic Design has been using me to be one of their camera testers for the new cinema camera.
Oh, I'm jealous. Nice.
It's pretty fun. And in fact, we were in Uganda shooting a documentary with 2 UFC fighters and a tribe of pygmies. Go check it out.
Oh, my God. And you shot them on the Blackmagic Cinemas?
We did. We used the brand new G2, the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K.
Oh, those are beautiful. Are they 5K?
Pre-production model. It's 4.6K.
4.6. And
I had that, and then the previous model, the G1, they're calling it. And it's just phenomenal camera for the money. I was a Sony guy forever. Shot with the F55, which I owned. But now it's like, I can own 5 of these for the price of one of those, and it outperforms it.
Yep.
So,
my friend Alex Lindsay, same thing. Same thing.
It's a fun business.
I bought all his Sony EX cams because he didn't use them anymore.
I still have 2 of the EXs. I was Sony's tester for those, and they're great.
Those are awesome cameras.
They still have utility. But these new Blackmagic ones, I was not impressed with the early cameras at all. I was like, no thanks, I'm a Sony guy. But about 3 years ago when they started doing these new ones, it's like night and day. In fact, I worked on a feature last summer with a pretty famous DP, Roy Wagner. He's ASC. And instead of using Alexa or some real high-end Wazoo thing, we shot with 3 of these.
Wow.
Like $1 million.
3 cameras simultaneously?
No, we used 2 most of the time. We had a third one on Steadicam.
Yeah, that's neat. That really changes how you make a film. Hey, I got to run.
All right, bud.
Thanks. Take care, Jody. Bye-bye. When it's time for Dick DeBartolo, Mad's maddest writer, it's time for Disco. Dickie D joins us each and every week to share his favorite gizmo with us. That's why we call him the Gizmo Wizard. Gizwiz for short. Hello, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing, pal?
Could not be better. Let me get this thing out of your shot there. I have my Helm server set up here. What's going on in your world?
Oh, let's see. So it's getting a little bit springy, so been working on the boat a bit.
Nice.
Went to a fun show called the Time to Play Magazine Spring Preview, and it's mostly games for kids.
Oh, nice. Like board games, or are they electronic now?
No, they're getting away from electronic for some reason.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But I was very strange. I found something there for people 18 and up.
Uh-oh.
That I thought it was pretty neat. It's called
that means.
Yeah.
Sexy time.
Oh, well. No. All right. So it is the world's smallest electric folding bike. Small enough to fit in a backpack.
Wow. I'm looking at the picture on your website. It is small.
It is very small. Evidently, people like the idea because they got more than $560,000 on Indiegogo.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's carbon fiber.
Yeah.
So it weighs just 16 pounds.
Okay.
But it can carry a driver up to 220 pounds.
Ooh, okay.
Speed is 15 miles an hour.
Look at the wheels. Well, in fact, the whole thing is kind of goofy looking.
It is goofy looking because the wheels fold out and then the wheels fold into these 2 big circles.
Yeah.
And then that folds up and then the handlebar folds down and then you end up with this little thing that goes in a backpack. I think
or the trunk of your car.
Yeah, exactly. But at 16 pounds also, you can just carry it when it's folded up. You don't need a particular
Did you get to ride it?
You know what? I was talking to the woman and I said, can I take this down and unfold it? And she said, oh, we just got everything set up on the table and that would really.
No, the answer would be no.
Yes.
It is cool looking, but it's also a little strange looking. You'd notice it looks like a pair of spectacles with a seat and a handle. And
yes. You're absolutely right. And the wheels are only 8 inches in diameter.
Oh, so it's like a scooter almost.
Well, a little bit bigger. So the Razor scooter is 5 inches. And I've gone over some crunchy sidewalks in New York City. Okay, so this should be a little better than that. And they're solid rubber tires, so there's no getting a blowout or
a hole in them,
inflation.
But is it might be kind of bumpy. I don't know what kind of.
I don't know. I see them pretty much writing it on level ground in their promo. The company says it's 100% street legal. But the interesting thing, Leo, it uses your phone as the dashboard.
So you have to have a smartphone.
A smartphone. As you approach it, it unlocks itself.
Oh, that's neat.
And then you put
so no one can steal it because
exactly. And when you walk away, well, you just take the battery out. But it also is locked if the phone is out of range, so that the accelerator won't work.
All
so
right,
no one
the
can
big
drive
question.
Yes, I know. I've got. What's your guess? Take a guess, okay?
Well, I love e-bikes. I'm a big e-bike fan. I have normal size e-bikes, and the range in prices from a low of $1,600 to a high of over $4,000. They're expensive. So I'm looking at this. I'm going to say it's got to be $899.
You're very close. Okay, for May it's $999.
Okay.
Okay,
and then they get under 1,000. Yeah,
under 1,000, and then they say in June it's going to go to $1,399. But
they often do that with Indiegogo projects. If you get in early, you get the special price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's for the next 29 days. How many days is left? I guess.
This isn't. Days. This is not. This is like a last mile bike. This is like I took the subway. I got into town, and now I want to go from the subway stop to the job, but it's a few blocks. This is like that. Yeah. I wouldn't use it to go out riding on a Sunday afternoon.
No. But this is also good for going from the studio to your house, right? Or you live very close?
I'm pretty close.
Okay.
I wouldn't walk, but I'm about 2 or 3 miles away. No, maybe 4 miles.
Yeah, but I think that's a good example from your house.
Quick.
Here in the city or in the suburbs, ride to the train station, fold it up, and then get to the Grand Central Terminal, and then take it to your job. Assuming it's not too much traffic.
We didn't say what the name of this is, and I'm going to.
It's called the S. It's the SMA. I don't understand it. It's the SMA Circle.
It's not a good name.
No, it's SMA Circle.
SMA Circle. Oh, like small.
Oh, maybe
circle. Small circle.
They should have put an L in there. At first I thought, I said that. Are you trying to say smart circle, like the C is a T? No, she said, no, it's smart circle.
Smart circle is a terrible name.
Yeah.
Okay, the smart circle. The smart circle. Smart circle. Smart circle. All right. Well, you know what? You don't need to spell it. Just go to gizwiz.biz, GIZWIZ.biz. That's Dick's website. Click the link that says the GizWiz visits the tech guy, and you'll see a video that Dick made at the show with the small circle.
The small circle.
Small circle. And see if it's for you.
Excellent.
Yeah. I want to ride my small circle. No. This doesn't work. Dickie D can also catch his What the Heck Is It contest while you're at the website. Just click the What the Heck Is It contest.
Yep, a new one just started.
Oh, that's right. Let me look. Oh, I don't. So what was this? The little, I thought it was a phone air mattress for the swimming pool. What was it?
You know what? We got a lot of those answers. I bought it as a way to hold your shampoo and conditioner jars, bottles to the wall in the shower.
Oh.
So you slam it against the wall. It's double-sided.
I love it.
Yeah, it's double-sided. Little
got suction cups on both sides.
Yeah, exactly. But, we gave more meds away for funny answers. Like someone said, I think it's so you can send M&Ms through the mail and they won't get broken.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need that. So there's a new picture, and he's looking. You got 2 months to play the game. Go look at the picture, figure out what it is. Clearly, that's Michael Jackson's bariatric chamber, I believe. Am I wrong? Bariatric would be something else.
What a great guess.
Clearly, that's what that is. But if you can guess what it is, you'll be in the running for an autographed Mad magazine from this guy here, Dick DeBartolo. Don't forget Dick's great podcast at gizwiz.tv. Thank you, Dickie D.
Okay, buddy. See you next week.
Have a wonderful week. We'll catch you next time. It's kind of fun having Michael Cozio, our old friend here, filling in for Big Pee Wee. Thank you, Michael. Great job, our musical director. Having some fun with the tunes today. Thanks also to our phone angel, Kim Schaffer, for answering your calls. But most importantly, thanks to you for tuning in. I hope you'll come back next time and we can talk more high tech. The website, free to all, no sign up, techguylabs.com. If you heard anything on the show that A, you want the link to, or B, you want to disagree with, you can do that at techguylabs.com. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.